The number one worry that jiu-jitsu players have, especially new grapplers or even older grapplers, is getting hurt training your sport. Risk of injury in jiu-jitsu is high. Studies done on jiu-jitsu injury risk shows that in a 3-year period of grappling, you have a 70% chance of requiring at least 1 2-week absence from training because you got hurt training jiu-jitsu. What can we do about injuries in jiu-jitsu? Is it out of our control? Is it something that we just have to accept is a part of the sport? Should we just stop training jiu-jitsu altogether? Or is there another solution? There are 2 primary areas that you can focus on to reduce your risk of injury training jiu-jitsu. The first is what can be done on the mats to keep you safe. And the second is what you can do proactively off the mats to reduce your risk of injury. Now, whenever I mention injury risk in jiu-jitsu, a lot of comments or commentary that I get is injuries are all to do with how you behave on the mats, how you select your training partners, how you act when you roll. Are you spazzy? Do you have an ego? While yes, all of these factors play into your risk of injury on the mats. If you're walking into a jiu-jitsu gym and you throw caution to the wind, you never tap to submissions, and you're completely spazzing out, going 110% every single roll, well, yeah, obviously you're going to be at a higher risk of injury compared to someone that's very cautious, picks their training partners carefully, taps regularly, taps often. But this doesn't tell the whole story, and in my opinion is very narrow-minded. But there are some strategies you can employ to reduce your risk of injury on the mats by being safe, keeping yourself safe, and looking out for your training partners as well. The first is being cautious with who you're rolling with. If you're an older grappler and you're coming into jiu-jitsu late in life, which is fantastic, then maybe don't always elect to roll with the young guns, the hungry, up-and-coming blue belt competitor that is looking to use you as an Instagram highlight reel. It's totally fine to say no to rolls. Now, there are a lot of old school black belts in the industry, especially on social media, saying you should never say no to a roll or it's disrespectful to say no to a higher belt. I think this is absolute horseshit. If you want to turn down a roll because you're not feeling up to it, maybe you're a bit fatigued, or let's be honest, you just don't trust that training partner, that's totally okay. And for those that think that all upper belts have your best intentions at heart, this is complete bullshit. I have had personal experiences as a white belt and even a brand new blue belt rolling with upper belts, a brown and black belt, where I know that they're looking to just assert their authority and put some smash on and not intentionally hurt me, but you know, they don't really care. They don't have on my best interest at heart. These people exist in jiu-jitsu. Just because you achieve a brown or a black belt doesn't make you a good person. This is a fallacy. So if you don't trust your training partners, one might say, oh, well, you're at the wrong gym or you should move gyms. Well, maybe this isn't always the case. Maybe you're traveling. Maybe you're visiting a gym. Maybe someone's visiting your gym and there's not always going to be the mat enforcer there ready to, you know, put the smash on the visitors when they're being risky or doing dangerous things. This happens in jiu-jitsu all the time. Just like in life, people have different personalities. You don't have to roll with them. It's okay to turn down rolls. Now, this one may seem obvious, but the amount of people that don't do this is insane. If you have a pre-existing injury, you're nursing a niggle, maybe you sprained your shoulder or it just isn't feeling right, tell your training partners before you roll. You don't have to go 110% every single training session. It's okay to have days where you're going easy. The problem with this advice is it is very easy to give, but so hard to follow. Let's say, for example, you decide you're going to have an easier training session today, and then all of a sudden you're paired up with your gym arch nemesis or your best training partner or the person that you're always going back and forth with. It's so hard to leave your ego at the door, allow them to get the better of you, or not fight back 100% as you normally would in that role because you're having an easier day. And I personally struggle with it immensely, and to the point where I almost don't even follow this advice. But if fatigue is a problem for you, if you're not recovering between sessions, if you're struggling with fatigue in general, then not going 100% every single session will absolutely help you. And this feeds into a greater concept of fatigue management and auto-regulation. If you want to learn more about that, I did a whole video on fatigue management specifically for jiu-jitsu recently. I'll put a link to that in the description of this episode. You have a responsibility to educate yourself on what is safe jiu-jitsu technique and what is dangerous and not worth the risk. Now, before you start screaming in the comments that this sort of advice is watering down the sport and jiu-jitsu is a full contact combat sport and you just got to get used to it, this is such a dumb take. Even John Danaher and the most elite jiu-jitsu teams in the world have banned techniques in their gym because some techniques, the risk is not worth the reward. Oftentimes, we're talking about flying techniques, some more dangerous leg locks like the Z-lock, for example, is often banned or discouraged because of how catastrophic it can be. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't heel hook. I'm not saying that you shouldn't jump guard if you know what you're doing, but certain flying techniques and jumping guard are too risky. It's simple. Like, why would you want people in your gym to keep hitting flying scissor takedowns when there are alternatives that are much safer, keep you and your training partner more safe on the mats? A personal anecdote. When I was a naive young blue belt, I used to rip people back from turtle to try and take their back. Now, if you don't know, this can be catastrophic on your training partner's ankles. It carries so much risk, and there are better alternatives on taking the back rather than literally just brute forcing it and ripping them back from their shoulders or the back of their gi. Now, after I learned about this from Jordan Teaches Jiu-Jitsu, when we created a course called the Performance and Longevity course. As part of that, Jordan put together a module on mat safety and what positions are safe and what positions you should avoid or be aware of the risk of injury in those positions. Now, when I was making that course with Jordan, I learned so much from reviewing his section of the course, and that was one of the positions that I'm like, oh shit, I've been doing that even in competition. So I no longer do that, and I go out of my way to educate particularly the newer grapplers that, hey, this is a dangerous position. These are the risks. Here's some alternatives. You have a responsibility for yourself and your training partners to be aware of these positions. If you want to learn more about that and get your hands on that mat safety course and any of Jordan Teaches Jiu-Jitsu's courses, then use the promo code BJJ Strong to save 20% at checkout. The promo code is on the screen now, and I'll put a link in the description. The next category is off the mats. Now, this is my wheelhouse. I have helped thousands of grapplers all around the world get strong, improve their performance, and most importantly, reduce their risk of injuries on the mats. In all the research done on injury prevention programs in all of contact sport, including combat sports, the number one way to reduce your risk of injury is the athletes need to be following a strength performance program. Specifically, we're talking about lifting weights for your sport. This doesn't mean that your lifts should look like jiu-jitsu techniques. What this means is following a strength-based program that is going to translate to performance, is going to correlate with the muscles that you need to strengthen for your sport. You need to have some form of transferability, but doing some form of strength training is better than doing nothing. Here's the reality though. Most of the research done on reducing risk of injury for contact sports is done on team-based sports that have a lot of money behind them. Think American football, soccer, think rugby, and all of these contact, traditional ball sports and traditional contact sports. The biggest difference between those sports and for our case being grappling is in grappling, one of the primary objectives of grappling is to apply submissions on joints. Now, people in American football, yeah, they take a lot of impact and crazy hits, but there isn't this detailed surgeon-like precision of impact on the joint with the intention to break it. However, we cannot throw the baby out with the bathwater. We still need to take these findings into consideration, and there is strong evidence to suggest that lifting weights, doing some form of strength-based training will have a significant reduction in your risk in jiu-jitsu. You need to be lifting weights for jiu-jitsu 2 to 3 times per week. Your training sessions don't need to be crazy. You don't need to be in the gym for hours. 45 minutes to 60 minutes is all you need. I recommend following a full body training program that focuses on upper and lower body dynamic effort, maximal effort. Make sure that your training program incorporates compound movements, stability work, plyometrics, and rotation. Oftentimes, powerlifting programs and bodybuilder programs neglect these core areas like rotation. If you neglect rotation, you're going to be at an increased risk in jiu-jitsu because of the oblique angles, the weird and wacky positions that jiu-jitsu has to offer and demands of your body. Jiu-jitsu demands a lot from your body, so you should demand a lot from your training program. If you're interested in strength training for grappling, but you don't know where to start, I have a free 2-day per week training program. It's a full body split, full 12-week program. You can download it. Link is in the description. Another low-hanging fruit item to reduce your risk of injury, as backed by the research, is by doing a dynamic warm-up before you train. And no, I'm not talking about running in circles or doing push-ups and sit-ups and counting out loud with your teammates. That is not a warm-up. That is dog shit. I recommend doing a dedicated mobility warm-up, specifically utilizing dynamic work, meaning you're not static stretching like you did in high school in PE. I mean, you're moving through the ranges of motion, getting your joints primed, and more importantly, increasing your heart rate, warming up your body, and getting prepared for the demanding work of jiu-jitsu. If you go into a roll cold, you're at an increased risk of injury. So you can follow my personal recommendation for a dynamic warm-up by downloading my warm-up and cooldown program. Again, it's totally free. Link is in the description for that. It's a full program, free of charge. Just follow it. That's all I ask. Look, do you have to lift weights for jiu-jitsu? Well, no, you don't. You don't have to do anything. You can just keep showing up to training, do your 2 to 3 jiu-jitsu sessions per week, and run the gauntlet. Or alternatively, you can do 2 to 3 dedicated strength sessions per week, follow a strength program designed for your sport, and you'll get your strength benefits, your performance benefits. Hell, you even get body composition benefits and put muscle on, look better, feel better. And most importantly, you'll reduce your risk of injury on the mats. If you want to check out any of the resources that I mentioned in this video, or check out my paid programs on BJJ Strong Online, feel free to do that. Link is in the description. I have programs designed for all sorts of grapplers for different goals, different performance benefits. If you want to find the program that's best for you, you should try my free program quiz. Link is in the description for that. It's totally free, no sign up, no BS. Just click the link, do the quiz, find your program. If you got value from this video, smash the thumbs up button. Feel free to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and drop me a comment. You can ask me a question, drop me a fist bump in the comments to show support. I want to hear from you. Thanks so much for watching. And if you want to get your hands on my premium programs, check out BJJ Strong Online.
BJJ Strong Online is the ultimate jiu-jitsu performance platform. It has helped hundreds of grapplers get strong and mobile and reduce their risk of injury on the mats. It has over 10 full-length training programs, a video movement library with over 360 mobility guides, lifting tutorials, and mobility follow-alongs. There are 5 separate full-length instructionals with downloadable resources, quizzes, and everything that you need to achieve your performance goals. Whether your goal is to smash your next competition, reduce your risk of injury, or to get strong and jacked for BJJ, we've got you covered. You can join now at bjjstrongonline.com or click the link in the description.